Hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Royal. What an incredible day we had in the market today. It's January 15th, 2026, and it feels like the market is definitely starting to heat up. This is stock SPHL. Now, this is 4 a.m. Pacific time, and SPHL hit the scanners and started moving higher. Now, I was not in front of my trading monitor at this point, but you can see that this went from about 225 a share all the way up to this initial about 427 a share, had a little pullback and then pushed higher again. And then in this consolidation window, we get a push from $5 a share, and look at that thing rip all the way to 12.45 a share, 12.41 a share. And if you follow those green TTM trend candles, I mean, you could have reasonably been into this until around the 10.50 range, or maybe even $10 a share for your exit. Another little pullback and then a push higher. Now, what was fascinating to me was not necessarily that initial move because I wasn't in front of my computer, although at this point the stock was up well over 200%. But what blew me away was the subsequent during the market hours. So this stock pulled all the way back from 1241, came all the way down here to a low of 608 on this candle, and then subsequently got a little recovery, got back up above the VWAP, which is the orange folded line here, broke below, popped up again. And at this point, I was trading another stock, and I'm going to give you the recap. I'll give you the abbreviated recap, and then I'm going to post the full recap as well of my trading day. Again, I am trading in a simulator, but this poked up through, came up to 950, and during this stretch, this isn't a spot that I was really interested in trading the stock anyways, largely because we were so far below the pre-market high. I couldn't even fathom that we would maybe recover that, which probably speaks to just, not putting your own expectations on a stock and what it may or may not do. But this ripped up and then pulled back to the 21 EMA, and I want to just highlight this strong bear to weak bear transition down here on the TTM squeeze. I'm going to expand that out just a little bit. You can see how this TTM squeeze histogram ends up being much smaller than, for example, this prior histogram. And even this one here is small. When you see these smaller histograms coming in, it could be an indicator that maybe this is going to move higher. Now, there's no guarantees, obviously, in trading. You're just trying to play probabilities. So at this point, this pops up, holds the 21 EMA, which is the white line. And I didn't take this trade either. I saw this go up and I thought, man, we're $3 below the pre-market high. I don't know that I can trade it here. Maybe we bump up to 10 and then get rejected and sell off. Who knows? So needless to say, it did rip. Now, I did end up getting in. So I actually took an entry on this candle right here, this big long candle. And I ended up taking my entry, and I traded this here, and you're going to be able to see that on my recap trade. But I took this entry. You'll see that on the replay, as I mentioned. And then I was adding to my position. Well, as this consolidated, I started taking some sells right around $11. And I ended up out my final position about right in here, kind of in the 1080 range. And what I was kind of looking for is that this candle right here at 753 be the candle to rip up if it was going to squeeze. And I was out. And lo and behold, 2 minutes later, this just rips. We get this rip from what is about 11:10 all the way up into Halt. Now I took this on the way up through the pre-market high. So I did end up at 1293, and I had 1,500 shares. So I added a little aggressively given that we had broken this pre-market high. And in hindsight, it was painful. One of my focal points is that I expect to be uncomfortable, and this pulled back down into the 11s, but still held the 8 into the mid 11s, still held the 8 EMA, and I was uncomfortable. I was down about $1,500 on that trade at one point, and then fortunately this worked out. We got the strong reversal back up through, and then look at this go. Halts again up at 1528. On the unhalt, I took some off, and then we just kept ripping. I mean, this goes all the way up here to 19, and then we end up hitting 21. Now, I ended up out my position. My best exit was like 1775. You'll see that on the recap. but just absolutely insane move. Just for context, I want to zoom out so you can see what this looks like. You end up getting this just incredibly aggressive move from the sixes all the way up to 21. Now, I like I said, I didn't trade it here in the sixes. I did finally then end up taking an entry up here around the nines. Sorry, that was up in this range as we were looking to break through 10. And then my average cost ended up being about 1080 up here. So I was out the remainder of my position before this big rip happened. So just to give a little context, massive move on the day. It was up over 700% at one point on the day. When I was trading it through here, it was already up it was up about 400%. And as I was in these halts, I was commenting, we're up 500%. People definitely had this on their radar. So it does feel like the market's starting to heat up. This is just kind of a quick preview of the actual live trading, sorry, the live trade recording that I did. And so you'll see that as we transition into that video. Hope you enjoy. Hope this is helpful to you. Again, I recommend, strongly encourage, if you're struggling to gain consistency, you should be trading in a simulator. I'm doing the same thing still to practice and really push myself to get my consistency down, build my confidence to make sure that I can be consistently profitable and execute these trades the way I need to. Hope you enjoy this recording. I'm going to take a starter on that. SPHL took 500 shares there, up above 10 at 1008. I'm going to add here. So I've got 1,000 shares, average cost 1018. Now I'm looking for a squeeze up to 11. So 1003, there's a pivot there. Looking for this pop up to 11, maybe 1150. There's 1050, 1080, 1072, 1081. I'm going to add there. So I added at 1097. There's 1128. Let's see if we can push higher, 1116. This is looking good. So I'm still in. I've got 1,500 shares at 1130. Let's see if we can get a short cover all the way up. 1175 is the limit up. Nice move there up to 11. My average cost is 1044. Good strong volume on this 5-minute candle. Kind of a fresh breakout here if we can get another first 1-minute candle to make a new high after this breakout. Could be a spot to add potentially. So on the 5-minute, 1140 is the high back here. So lighter selling on that 1-minute candle. Let's see what this one does. So 11 again, 1104. See if we can get this to squeeze higher. 1120, there we go, 1135. So my last add was at 1097. I haven't added again yet. So just sitting here, sitting tight. Average cost is 1044. Got a nice move up to 1120. That high of that power candle is 1079. So now we're pulling back to kind of my break even, which not ideal. You know, I'd like to see this continue to press higher. At one point, unrealized that was up about $1,100 on it, and just watching to see if it's going to continue to hold the 8 EMA. I have that prior candle's 1079. So I'm going to add there. Now my average cost 1053. Let's see if we get this nice push up higher. There's 11. I got an order to take 500 off at 1105. I've got an order to take another 500 off at 1130 if we get there. So up to 11 and then back 1095. Let's see if we can get the push here. There's 1107, so my first 500 off. 1109, 1110, 1112. Let's go. Let's see if we can get up there. 1130. So I got 500 more off. I put in an order for at 1116. So 1101, took that out. So I got 1,000 shares left here. Average cost is now 1088. Got an order at 1116. put out another order to sell there at 11. We go flat the rest there. So nice gainer. I mean, that was 770, so that turned out to be a good trade. We could get another push higher still. See our TTM trend candles are still green. But yeah, that's a good winner. 770 on that one. Made back a little bit of a loss on the day. So still down 1100, not ideal. But again, I'm just trying to be mindful of focusing on the process, seeing this topping out there around the $11 is kind of a cue to get out. And now look, there's the pop. So yeah, that's a nice pop up to 12, 12, 14. That's kind of what I was hoping would happen. Basically this candle. So just a touch sooner. And it didn't work out that way. So there we are, 1303, halt up. I'm going to try to add into the halt. I took I took I got 1,500 shares there into the halt. Average cost 12.93. So we'll see what this does. Kind of a interesting halt up there. Now this may turn out to be a bad move because if we can't hold above that pre-market high halt level 1241, that could be it could be bad. Oh, there's 1051. Yeah, this could actually be a really bad halt. We'll see how this goes. So we'll see where this ends up. Right now, showing resumption of 13. So we'll just, again, we're going to sit tight here. We got about 5 minutes on this halt. We'll see where this unhalt goes. Interestingly enough, on the daily for SPHL, there's actually a window all the way to 6240. And what I mean by that, if I go show you the daily here, and talk about a window. So back here, this massive candle from a low of 744 all the way to 6240. So of course you've got people that are shorting potentially this whole way down. So when you run into that and you go look at this prior high of 8, well, we're now up at 13. So you could potentially be in this window of opportunity, you know, higher up. You just don't, obviously, nobody knows where this is going to go, but you've got they call this a window because it's not a gap fill, it's an actual bar, including the tails, but you've got this window of opportunity potentially here. So, kind of an interesting setup. This is on the daily chart. But it just gives you a feel of where we're at right now. This high says 1303, and we're in that window. Again, potentially this could end up being kind of a larger squeeze. So I'm going to switch back to the 1 minute here. Now our unhalt is lower at 1263. So again, who knows where we'll go, but kind of the only thing I would say is I took those positions off at 11, looking for this to pop faster. It then finally did pop, so it took it a few more candles than I really would have hoped. Essentially, this candle right here at 7:53 my time, this was the one that I was really looking to maybe make that big push up, and it just took it 2 additional minutes. So you know, with my average costs even down at 1080, that had been a great move. So this is just learning. This is again the benefit of a simulator. Now I did jump into the halt up at 1293. Right now we're showing resumption of 1263. We've got about a minute left before resumption. So who knows? Like that may have been a bad move. 1,500 shares. Even
30-cent reversals 450 off of this. If we get a deeper reversal, I could end up giving back that full gain, which is not ideal. So we'll just see. We've got just coming up on a minute left before the resumption. I do like that we broke high of day, or sorry, pre-market high. I like that we broke the pre-market high, but not great when you see these lower resumption prices from the unhalt. You'd much rather see this, resuming maybe up in the at least even, if not up into the 13s, mid 13s at this point. So about 40 seconds left to resumption here. And at a 40-cent reversal on 1,500 shares, that's $600. I would be giving back most of that gain, which is, it's not great. That's part of the risk of buying into a halt. So I had that happen on AHMA last week or earlier this week, and it was a little annoying. So this is the point of practice. You got to dial in things that you should and shouldn't do. Let's see what the unhalt does here. So 1340 there, 1350. I'm gonna take half off there. And there's a nice, let's see if we get a push higher. So I've got half off. I'm still in the second half. Up to 1436. Now we're at 14. I'm going to try to sit tight in the rest of this. So I'm up almost $1 a share, and I just want to see what kind of room this is going to give us. Um, it's Nice to not sit on the sideline while a stock goes higher without you. So if I can stay in this position a little longer and just see, we've got green candles, we're above the pre-market high, we've got that big window up to 60. Look, I don't think this is going to go to 60, but could we get to 15? Could we get to 16? Could we get to 18? Yeah, possibly. I don't know that it'll all happen in this one run, but there's a nice halt up, and that's a much stronger halt. Let's see these sellers stack, or these buyers stack up. So a little bit better buyer stack up on this one. Not massive still, but better. Um, so, now we're unhalting potentially 1590. So I kept, well, now 15. So I kept half on. I took half off. I kept half on. This is now 1460. It's going to be interesting to see. This is so we've had this halt here. That's one. This is our second halt. And I mean, who knows? Like it's hard to know where this goes. 1528 now maybe unhauled around 14 isn't awesome because that's a dollar share given back. But we see this popping around. Now we're up to 1480. Um, I mean, who knows? Like this is now at 1528. This is definitely hitting people's radar. This stock is now up almost 600%. So we're up 579%, and people are seeing this. And I think what that means for me is I don't want to just bail. I don't want to bail this early on, right? I've got half off, which is great. So I've locked in some profits. I'm now up 980 realized on this one position, and I've got unrealized of 1700. So I've got a decision to make here as far as, on the unhalt, do I take half off again, recognizing that we're now pretty extended on the 5 minute. If I go show you the 5 minute chart, 21 EMA is clear back here at $10. We're up at 15. I mean, that's massively extended on the 5 minute chart. So if I go back to the 1 minute, we're still pretty extended, 1155 to 15. And I think in this regard, I'm kind of intrigued by the prospect of taking half off on the unhalt, um, just to see, lock half of that. If I can lock in, if I can lock in a good portion of that 1700 there, half or better, then then it's interesting. But that was a little better halt up. I mean, it kind of, we didn't get a ton of buyers stacked up the way you sometimes see, where this, you'll get a halt up on a stock moving really actively, and this whole thing will be green, and there'll be, hundreds of thousands of shares of buying into the halt. That's not exactly how this one panned out. But um, but yeah, so it's interesting. I'm a little bit intrigued now to see where we go. But I think my strategy is going to be to probably take half off on the unhalt and then try to sit in the second half of my position. You can see my average cost here is 1298. I've got 1700 on the unrealized. So, if I took half off on the unhalt, if this unhalts anywhere close to 15, then I'll be able to lock in about $800 of that unrealized. So just see, this should unhalt in approximately 2 minutes. So we'll see where this goes. So we're coming up on resumption here, assuming that this is a 5 minute halt. We're going to see where this goes. We should be unhalting at about 11, 10, and 9 seconds. So let's see what this does here. I took half off, I took a quarter off there, and take another quarter off. So now my average cost 1304, and we didn't really hold the halt level, but there we go. That's a nice push up. So I'm still in a portion of my position. And let's see, that's nice, up to 17. Now we're 1750. See if we can get the next halt up. There's 1775. I'm going to take a quarter off there. Third halts can sometimes get a little wild. So kind of a little bit of a false halt. I'm going to take another half off. Now we're up to 18. There's 19. I still have 159 shares, which I realize is not a huge position, but I'm also being mindful of this, potential for false halt or third halt. That was a big move. Um, got 159 shares. I'm up $5 a share on that. So um, I'm gonna take another portion off there and just kind of waiting to see if this will give us any more push. That was up to 19. So I'll take half there at 18. There's 1830, 50. I'm just going to sit tight. I only have 80 shares left, but I'm up $5 a share on this final 80 shares. 18, 18 again. Kind of struggling there at 18. I'm going to go ahead and take the rest off there. So that got me out a little lower, 1698, which is fine. I mean, I had 80 shares left, so wow, what a move. I mean, that was absolutely insane on the unhalt from 1528 at the halt all the way to 19 on that next candle. And my best exit was 1775. So I had taken half off at 1430 on my average cost. Um, um, let's see here. So I took 187 shares off at 1110 at 1479, 140 shares off at 1430, and then we ripped to 1775 or up to 18. So I got 1775. Then I took another little bit off at 1715. Just trying to take advantage of that price extension. Tried to sell that last bid at about 1750 and it didn't go through, so got out at 1698. The low of this candle down to 1580, and now here we are right back up at 16. So wow, now SPHL is up 656%. What an incredible mover. That became a big winner for me, $3,350 on that, buy into the halt, clear back down at 1293 was my entry. That would have been clear back here. So I was getting into this halt, held through this little pullback with the EMA holding, and we just got a massive run. Wow, that was absolutely incredible. So definitely the highlight of the trading day. Nice way for me to finish the morning here, up $1,480. And it paid this morning to be patient, try to keep an eye on any opportunities that continue to come forward, and this one definitely did with SPHL. So hopefully you all caught some of that. Hope you enjoyed this recording of my trading this morning, and really excited. It seems like the market's heating up. CJMB is up 266%. Looks like it's probably got some legs. Sure enough, it broke above that downtrending trend line that we had drawn. That's all happening the same time I was in the halt on SPHL. So, of course, I didn't trade it because I was in the halt. But CJMB is up 266%. We've got AUID up 93%. And then SPHL, the big winner right now, up 682% at this point. So, again, it does feel like the market's heating up. That's awesome. It's been slow for probably the prior 3 to 4 months at least. And so it's fun to see these big stocks or these stocks making these big moves. I'm really blown away by this curl. Just absolutely blown away that we hit a pre-market high clear up here at 1241, pulled back all the way, gave back 50% of that basically to $6.50 right here, and then subsequently started to get this momentum on this curl back upward. And if you were in this trade from $9 a share on this hold of the 21 EMA, good for you. I mean, you've got green candles all the way to 19, and you could have taken some profits reasonably either into this halt or maybe even into this halt. And wow, I mean, you absolutely crushed that trade if you were able to, you know, look at this holding the 21, look at the flip on the histogram. I did not do that. You know, I was looking at this thinking, wow, we're well under the pre-market high, and I just don't see this getting up to back up to pre-market high. And there we go. It did. It absolutely did. And I was really blown away to see that. So if you caught that move and got any gains on that, again, congratulations. What a great trading morning. And hope you all take care and enjoy this recap.